Well, hello there, and welcome to Sportcat's Daily Gazette. Let's make sure my audio is coming out good and clean. It sounds like it. All right, hello, Denise. Let me turn this off now because I sound like I'm having a stroke. Good Lord. So, how is everyone today? Welcome to the Sportcat Daily Gazette. You are tuned in to the one and only Sportcat, often imitated but never replicated. They haven't cloned me yet. They're working on it, though, I heard. So, Denise, welcome. For those of you listening on Yergz Radio, YERGZ and Rainbow Radio, you can come over to YouTube and find us under the Para R Normal, 3 different words, and Guys, and it's spelled with a Z, Guyz, or search out the Sportcat Daily Gazette. We have people from Australia, we have people from the United States, we have everybody in the chat, and we enjoy interacting with you. And sometimes we even have today a news story that is brought to us by one of our listeners. And speaking of that, if you want to send us news stories or things, you can do it by either sending me a direct email, sportcat@protonmail.com. Of course, you can find me on X and Facebook at either at Sportcat or Sportcat Medic. And you can also go to our Facebook group. If you go to Facebook and search out Sportcats with a plural S there, Daily Gazette, Sportcat's Daily Gazette, join the group. I want to interact with all of my fans from around the world, and you can share news stories that you see that you think might be interesting to the rest of us, especially if once you get into the chat and you start engaging, you find that some people are interested in earthquakes, others in hurricanes, and some want to know about what's going on in the great political world. Good Lord. Hello there, Chris. Welcome. So I haven't talked about fire yet, and the dog is already barking. So there we go. All right. Well, we're going to jump in today. I have some stories in no particular order. Well, that's kind of a particular order. And remember, once again, some of these things to get to the bottom of, we just need more facts. And I think that's one of the problems that the world is having. I got to move everything around here. Where is my screen? All right, here we go. All right, so we'll start off. This article comes to us from the Daily Wire. And they're talking about in the briefing room. This article was published today. Inside the briefing room, an angel mom, and that's what they're calling a mom of a victim of a crime from an illegal alien. That is not my terms. That is the actual terminology they are using. And apparently they called a impromptu press conference yesterday. And, well, let's just talk about it. Reporters from the United States' most prominent outlets waited excitedly for the special guest touted by the White House press secretary, Karen Leavitt, at her surprise briefing on Wednesday afternoon. Now, remember, they have a pool press time, 9 a.m. We talk about that every day, where they want everybody from the big media outlets in there in case something happens. So they had a impromptu meeting. And it was a surprise when the lady who came out emerged from behind the sliding door, a woman dressed completely in black, devoid of makeup or jewelry. I don't know why that's important. Her hands clasped together in front of her. She stood quietly behind Leavitt as the White House press secretary introduced her. Her name is Patty Morin. She's the mother of a woman brutally slain by illegal immigrant Victor Antonio Martinez Hernandez as she was exercising on a Maryland trail. The 23-year-old murderer was arrested in June in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and charged with first-degree murder, first-degree rape, and Rachel Morin's death. Now, Wednesday, before a crowded room with legacy, now remember the term there, legacy reporters who repeatedly berate Leavitt over the deportation of illegal immigrant gang member Kilmar Abrigo, and I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Garcia, quietly shared her story. You could have heard a pin drop in the James S. Brady briefing room as she spoke. She goes on to say, as a lot of you know, the whole story about Rachel and about the crime that was committed against her, she said, even us, her family, we didn't know all the details. They kept most of it close to their chests, the detectives, because they didn't want to do anything to hurt the case. I sat for at least 2 weeks in her trial, and we saw her layer upon layer of evidence against the accused, an illegal immigrant from El Salvador, she continued, and things that we thought, well, maybe this might have happened. We didn't know, but when we were at the trial, we got all the puzzle pieces, and I want to share some of those things with you. She shared that her daughter was walking on a Maryland path when Martinez Hernandez approached her waited for her to come closer. Realizing no one was around, he attacked her, then dragged her 150 feet, blood gushing from her head, leaving a trail of her blood in the wake. Stopping to brutally batter her head with rocks on the trail, throwing her against a wall and raping her. Her mother continues talking, and she tried to look at the reporters in the eye as she spoke. When they did the autopsy, there was a 6-inch square in the back of her head where the skull was shattered, the way you would crush an eggshell in pieces. Three-fourths of her brains hemorrhaged, her right and left side of her face bashed in, her beautiful face bashed in, that's her mother's words, her head bashed in, broken bones fractured. The murderer took Moran's daughter into the tunnel, throwing her against the wall to rape her. He picked her up, he throws her against the wall, blood gushing from her head. Her hair is soaked in blood. They showed us pictures of her body against the wall. The blood outlined her clothes. And you can see where the blood ran down around her as he was raping her. And then he threw her down and raped her some more. Then he strangled her because he didn't want her to be able to live to tell the story. This is a key part to this article. The reporters in the room were still, most of them, listening closely. Usually the reporters are busy on their phones as Levitt speaks, texting, emailing, preparing for more questions, and shooting questions. Their editors about her remarks on Wednesday. Most sat quietly listening as she spoke. I do not want my granddaughters to see these pictures, she said emotionally. These are the kind of criminals President Trump wants to remove from our country. These are the kind of criminals that we need to remove from our country. We are American citizens. Why should we allow people like this, violent criminals that have no conscience at all, to murder our mothers, our sisters, our daughters? The most powerful moment came as she left the room. Levitt had offered reporters a chance to ask questions, scanning the front row of legacy media repeatedly. No one raised their hands, though some of the new media reporters in the aisles, including the Daily Wire, raised their hand. Keyword there. Nobody in the front rows, the legacy media, wanted to know anything about this story. She turned to leave, followed by Morin, but the angel mom was arrested by the voice of CNN's Caitlin Collins, who as recently as Monday pushed President Trump on whether he would return illegal immigrant Garcia to the U.S. from El Salvador. Thank you, Collins called out to the departing mob. Morin, and her thank you was followed by a chorus of other White House press saying thank you. Morin paused, looked back at the crowded room full of reporters. And this is her quote as she was departing. And we call this the doorknob thing. When you want to get the truth out of a patient or something that's going on, or it's that last moment when they have your hand as a responder on the doorknob. It's a psychological thing. That's when you get the meat. That's when they call you back in and they want to tell you. And so that's what we call the doorknob principle. And she says to the media as she was exiting to leave, please tell the truth, she pleaded to them. Tell the truth. Tell how violent it really is. It is more than politics, the bereaved mother said emotionally. It's about national security. It's about protecting Americans. It's about protecting our Bulls. Where did I go? A Chicago Bulls shirt on. I do not know where I went. I disappeared. So maybe it's because I'm talking about this article. But yeah, so the media is trying to make it sound like, oh, if your kid's wearing a Chicago Bulls, they're going to pull him off the street. No, that's not the truth. So uh, she also talked to the media about where he belongs in saying that Democrats are just destroying innocent Americans' lives, specifically Marylanders. Think that the illegal alien is exactly where he belongs, home in El Salvador, the DHS spokesman said in an appearance on Fox News. He was in our country illegally. He was from El Salvador, where he was born in El Salvador. And oh, the media forgot to mention he is an MS-13 gang member. So the media would love for you to believe that this is a media darling. They just some Maryland father. Well, Osama bin Laden was also a father, and he wasn't a good guy, she continued. These are her words, not mine. And they are actually both terrorists. He should be in El Salvador prison for terrorism. I hope he will remain there. And she also thanked the El Salvadorian president for his assistance. And I'm going to skim through this. He's a member of MS-13. You wouldn't want this guy to be your neighbor. He was involved in human trafficking and should not be in this country, she stated. That's according to the DHS secretary. And then we have a senator, Chris Van Hollins. He went to the country trying to see him, but apparently the El Salvador government did not allow him to. And he was saying that they're doing more. DHS stated that Senator Van Holm has done more to bring MS-13 gang members home, a human trafficker, an illegal alien, than he has to keep his American constituents safe or advocate for the victims of these gangs like MS-13. So you can check out this whole article and you can form your own opinion and you can do some studying and research on your own. The only way to get to the truth, if you want to listen to one side of the media as opposed to the other, is to do your own homework. And I encourage everybody to do that. So let's see what we have here. Chris says, I have seen plenty of Bulls fans not be arrested here. Yes, Chris, you do live up there. I forgot about that. So, all right, so we're going to go back to another Department of Homeland Security article. This one comes to us from, where is this? From the Daily Wire. Official who openly cheered Hamas fired after 16 months of paid leave. Najwa Ali, a former spokeswoman for the PLO, Palestinian Liberation Organization, who DHS has hired and put in charge of vetting asylum seekers, was fired by the Trump administration in February after the Biden administration declined to do so for 14 months after she pledged her support to Hamas. She pledged her support to another country, and yet she worked for DHS. Former President Joe Biden's Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, removed her from duty in October of 23, days after the Daily Wire documented her celebration of the October 7th terrorist attack. She celebrated it. But instead of firing her, he continued to pay her, placing her on paid leave for, and I'm using air quotes for anybody listening on the radio, air quotes, for an investigation, even as she repeatedly and proudly affirmed her hatred of Jews and the allegiance of the Palestinian cause and used the paid leave to protest Israel during work hours. Now, I could be wrong, but I think that's an HR violation. Homeland Security spokesman Tricia McGoughlin told the Daily Wire this week that Ali was moved from federal services on February 10th, meaning she received 16 months of salary without having to work. That is our money. That is money you and I paid into taxes this past April, or yesterday, 2 days ago. So that is our money they're talking about. In 2016 and 2017, she was a public affairs officer for the PLO in D.C. According to her own LinkedIn account, that office was expelled from the country because it is designated a terrorist organization, but somehow she landed on her feet, securing a job at DHS as a, air quotes again, asylum officer, where she was tasked with applying immigration laws and regulation to asylum applicants. Boy, that seems like that makes a lot of common sense. She posted incessantly about her affair or her affinity for the Palestinian cause on social media, with increasingly over-the-top rhetoric after the October 7th terror attack. Daily Wire's initial report only highlighted how she reportedly repeatedly posted pictures of Hamas terrorists parachuting in with guns and writing F Israel and any Jew who supports Israel. Pretty sure, Chris, that is an HR violation. It would seem to me that would violate some rules. But yet she continued to work there. She threatened to call the police when the Daily Wire was reporting the article. And she, after the story ran, she said by the phone, I also effing lootly celebrate Palestinian terrorist hang gliders. A whole FU, the Daily Wire provided audio of that call to Mayorkas at DHS. I'm pretty sure that's a violation of HR rules. I would be fired if I did that at the fire department. There's no doubt in my mind the fire department would come in and go, hey, clean your locker. You're being escorted out of the building. But yet we pay her. And yet I continue. The hiring, which initially occurred during the Trump's administration, suggested there were only asylum officers not thoroughly vetting applicants to weed out fraudsters and terrorists, but even the screeners themselves were not vetted. This month, the DHS changed. Citizen and Immigration Services is now screening applicants' social media for any evidence that indicates an alien endorsing, espousing, promoting, or supporting anti-Semitic terrorism, anti-Semitic terrorist organization, or any other anti-Semitic activity as a negative factor in the USCIS discretionary allowances when adjudicating for immigration benefits requests. Now, a comment on that. When I got hired in public safety, we were all told we have checked your social media. In fact, some agencies, not fire EMS per se, some that have higher securities, they have to give their social media passwords to their employers before they're hired so that they can go check them out thoroughly and vet them. And that is people who come into your home to take care of you on a fire EMS basis. Those are people who pull you out of burning vehicles and houses, cut your cars out to free you from entrapped things. But someone that works for the federal government, they don't do that. I'll leave it there. All right, so it just is a double standard. So if you want to read the whole article, you can, because it goes into the details from the past article, and there are links to both the audio and the past articles about this precious jewel of a member of society that was employed by our government, that our taxpayers paid her salary to do absolutely nothing to help Americans. All right, so whoa, hello there. You're looking beautiful today, sir. I don't know what I did. Oh, how did that happen? All right, Trump announces free flights, possible stipends for self-deportees. Hell, why not? We're already paying them to work for us. This is according to an article from Zero Hedge. The federal government will facilitate and pay for self-deportation of those who have entered the country illegally, while operations will continue to target gang members and violent criminals, President Trump told Fox Nation's host Rachel Campos Duffy, I didn't know she got married, in an interview filmed at the White House that aired April 15th. So Chris says, many people have to love that big, beautiful, wonderful photo. Yeah. No, it wasn't taken by my buddy. The president said that stipends include plane tickets and money and could help incentivize illegal immigrants to leave and pursue legal status. Remember, we don't mind you coming. Just come through the front door, not through the back gate. Don't cut my fence up when you're coming in. Just come to the front door and knock. We'll let you in if you apply. That's what we do. We're America. We're going to make it comfortable for people, and we're going to work with those people to come back into our country legally, Trump said during an interview. And then if they're good, if we want them back in, we're going to work with them to get them back in as quickly as he can. Now, he did not provide any other details about how this will work and how the process will go, but he did announce the plans with some other industries, including hospitality, agriculture, and owners of farms, I guess they're talking about, that are going to be affected by the mass deportations. We're making it that the farmer can give recommendations to people. We're going to be very soothing, he said. I don't think I've ever heard the president use the word soothing. They're sort of responsible, and we're going to have the farmer take responsibility. But, ultimately, at some point, we want the people to go out and come back as legal. Broadcast to Hispanic audience, the interview was conducted in English and released with Spanish subtitles. Trump successfully courted the Hispanic vote during the 2024 campaign, according to exit polling that showed him gathering a record share for a Republican Party candidate. While he is offering paths to citizens for many in the workforce, the president said aggressive deportation operations will continue for violent criminals. Keywords there, violence. Right now, we're getting the murderers out, Trump said. We have our total aim on the very bad ones. And yes, you can imagine these are tough, bad people. We want them out, and that's mostly our focus. He did thank the Salvadorian president who had visited the White House on the 14th to discuss immigration and national security policies for housing violent deportees in his country's terrorism confinement center. Said the White House officials are looking into legally, potentially housing dangerous U.S. citizens in the super max prison. I don't know. I might. I don't know if I have a feeling. I don't know what my feeling is on that one, but this isn't about my opinion. This is about reporting. So I don't know. Personally, I don't know. I don't know that I'm a fan of that, but that's here nor there. You're a bad guy. You shouldn't be in our system. So that article comes to us from Zero Hedge. If you want to read it, hop over there. It was published this morning. And let's go on here. Because I don't want to get too far out because I want to do our normal things, but this was a national security thing. So and you're not going to believe it. This comes to us from our good friends at Task and Purpose. So apparently, Air Force pilots are getting a new way to pee at 30,000 feet. Now, I wonder why they specifically highlight 30,000 feet. Can you only pee at 30,000? If you're at 50,000, can you not pee? I don't know. The new system comes from a private public innovation challenge aimed at women who fly jets, and they say they often wouldn't drink water for hours to avoid the, quote, mess of the traditional relief system. Believe it or not, pilots relieving themselves mid-flight has become a national security incident. Did not know this. For decades, many military pilots who heard nature's call, particularly those who fly fighters, and especially women of those planes, faced an unpleasant reality. Use the decades-old piddle pack. I don't know what a piddle pack is. Maybe I should search that. Or other devices designed for mid-flight peeing. Hold it the other way, which is kind of dangerous, are risking deadly dehydration by drinking so little water that you never need to go. But a new device dubbed the Advanced In-Flight Relief Universal System, or AIR-US. You gotta love some of these military acronyms. Gotta pee? Go to AIR-US. Developed through an Air Force Innovation Incubator program, may make it easier going for, well, just going. For as long as there have been planes in the sky, pilots in single-seat aircraft like fighter pilots and others with ejection seats have had to unbuckle their harness and shimmy up from their seats to find a position that allowed for the relief. In rare occasions, the urge to go has led to fatal accidents, including one A-10 pilot who failed to restrap himself properly into his parachute after using the device to pee, only to be forced to eject later in that flight. Yeah, that was probably a shocking surprise there. But while mishaps are rare, drinking too much water is a daily struggle, particularly for women pilots who fly fighters, who have long found even traditional piddle packs, we're going to search that in a minute, to be woefully inadequate. Many say that they regularly file while they are dehydrated, hurting reflexes and leaving them susceptible to G-force induced consciousness to avoid peeing. Yeah, because if you're dehydrated and they're already pushing that blood away and the G-forces, that could be bad news. You can pass out. So I've had days where I have gotten on to the end of the runway and been like, oh man, I already have to pee. This is going to really be a painful day, a lieutenant colonel told the Task and Purpose on condition of anonymity because she is still on active duty. There are a couple of times that I've gotten on the ground and I'm just like, I'm really hoping nothing is wrong with my airplane and nobody needs to talk to me about troubleshooting anything because I'm going to, and I quote her, pee my pants. I need to get out of this jet as fast as humanly possible. 2023 survey of Navy flyers found that nearly 93% of female pilots and air crew stationed in California, Japan, and Spain said they would tactically dehydrate to avoid having to pee in the cockpit. Sometimes not drinking water on flights as long as 8 hours. Researchers have found that dehydrated pilots can have lower G force tolerances by up to 50%, leading to G force induced loss of consciousness, like we just talked about, a reduction in the physical and cognitive abilities, headaches, and altered vision. Not things you want to see in a pilot flying a multi-billion-dollar aircraft, dropping bombs at high speeds. There's nothing tactical about tactical dehydration, but that's what we're doing, said Shelley Mendita, a retired colonel and weapons systems officer for the F 15E Echo. All right, so piddle packs. We're going to get into the bottom of this with piddle packs. You know, we discussed some strange things on this show. Piddle packs. Tracy Lorate is a retired Air Force colonel, lieutenant colonel, who flew F 16s in Iraq. The F 16 seat, she said, is inclined 30 degrees with individual leg holes. A great setup for flying, not so great for peeing. I never thought about this. It's super comfortable. It's great for pulling G's, but you think about the fact that your hips are lowered, then your knees are elevated. It puts your body in the most advantageous position for taking personal business, she said. When I was there, I was the first and only girl in my squadron for many, many years, so I had nobody to follow, nobody to learn from. I kind of just had to figure it out on myself. The so-called piddle packs. Does it show a picture of this? I'm dying to see a piddle pack. I don't know why. I want to see a piddle pack. I want to see what a piddle pack looks like. Let's see. Well, it's basically a puke bag with cat litter or an absorbent pads. It's basically a flight sickness bag with, looks like maybe a what do you call that, seal top, like sandwich seal top. That's got to be horrible for the females. That's got to be horrible. We'll make sure they get, no, I don't want that button. I want this button. Got to make sure they get some relief from that. So it's been used decades by men. I can see that. It still has to be uncomfortable, and for women have to make them work. The devices are little more than a bag filled with gel that can hold 500 mLs of urine. That's not a lot, really, when you're going to be up for 8 hours. For men, using the bag is more straightforward, said Dr. Nasia Pope, a retired Air Force colonel and urologist. But women, she said, have to get undressed and even stand up to use it. I never thought about that. Yeah, I guess they do, because the flight suits has got one zipper up the front. In 2024, the Air Force was short 1,848 pilots, with 62% of its fighter aircraft. Women make up just over 20% of the Air Force active duty, but of the 10,964 rated pilots in the Air Force, only 708, or 6.5%, are women, according to a 2024 press release. The doctor stated she remembered an early female-specific adapter for the pack. She found it not very helpful, so she opted to, and I'm quoting her, MacGyver her own solution by using an adult diaper as a pad and then tossing it into a gallon-sized Ziploc bag. Interesting. As a flight surgeon, Pope even recalled trying to practice at home with a female version of the piddle pack and just peeing all over myself every single time. By 2021, the Air Force began testing Skydrate, which had a pad for women and a cup for men worn beneath a certain type of underwear that was connected to a tube that led to a pump outside of the flight suit. The pump pulled urine into a collection bag where it would be stored until they finished the flight. But even devices with pumps were messy because women have higher, I'm using her words, quote, flow rates than men. Yeah, if you don't have a good flow rate, you check your prostate. So pump speed wasn't fast enough, so the female flow rate would overwhelm the pump and they would leak all over themselves, she said. There are lots of anecdotal stories of people flying wartime missions and they just pee all over themselves. They get down and they were just trying not to have anyone see them because they're covered in pee. They've been sitting in urine for 9 hours because they even tried using one of these. So the new device called the Air US began as a proposal for the 2020 Sky High Relief Challenge. Is that like the Mile High Club? Sponsored by Air Force Weapons and Innovation Exchange, or AFWERX. Good Lord. Air Force's Silicon Valley Business Incubator. The challenge called for a urine collection system that could be used by women and pilots for flight missions lasting up to 16 hours. They awarded a contract to a private company, Arion, to develop the device. The device eventually launched in January. Seems like it should have been done much sooner. New pilots arriving for Air Force flight training will get the device first, while operation units will begin to phase them in. The device comes with 5 different cups for women and 2 sizes for men, attached to a pump and a collection bag that can hold up to 1,800 milliliters. There we go. Are to 4 to 7 urinations, according to Colt Seaman. I'm not making that name up. I swear to God. Colt Seaman. That's a good porn name. Colt Seaman, founder of Arion, the company behind the device. The device also comes with dual net fabric underwear to make it more comfortable. Well, I guess we were always told that you can only wear cotton under your flight suit, and your flight suit is made of Nomex to protect you in case of a fire. So I guess it's cotton, dual knit. It's kind of reverse to what typical designing the military is. It's usually designed for males, and then, hey, yeah, we'll make it for females. This was the total opposite, Seaman said. We designed it for females. Now the males are asking for it too. Well, of course. The device was tested with pilots flying F-16, F-15, A-10, and F-35. It included aviators who were early in their careers, all the way up to lieutenant colonels. The pilots wanted 2 things: the ability to use it on demand and stay dry, said Jennifer West, a former Air Force nurse and medical advisor. The device has so far worked in the Air Force testing. A female fitment coordinator, Air Combat Airman Performance Branch, said they found that it did not hinder movements while pilots were doing critical flight maneuvers, such as close air support like airstrikes and defensive counterattacks, probably refueling. It was really a surprise how excited they were. Yeah, you're pretty happy to pee. I mean, we're talking about just peeing, right? Which is something we all do. It was kind of really an aha moment. And Shelley Mendita, a retired colonel and weapons officer with the F-15, said she's worked on this issue since her first deployment in 2003, saw different devices come and go over the years, but this competition was a huge step forward. Now it's taken time for the issue to gain traction, so it becomes something that we are expected to have and not that we're having to fight for. Agreed. Everybody should have the right to pee. So, but as she keeps in touch with current pilots who are using the device for themselves, this is the most positive I've seen in this conversation in 25 years. And what does Chris say? Only 500 ml. What do I use other than 7 hours? 500 ml is not a lot of pee, and our pilots deserve better. So yes, we need to get on that. We'll hop in. Well, there we are again. We'll hop into this story real quick because we're going to cover this in the other segment, but this comes to us from Zero Hedge as well. Measles outbreak is likely bigger than thought, according to the CDC. The measles outbreak started in Texas this year is likely larger than reported. We actually talked about this, if you guys remember, because of where it started. We believe that there's quite a large amount of cases that are not reported. Dr. David Sugarman, a senior CDC scientist working on measles, said during a meeting with the agency's vaccine advisory panel, and working very closely with her colleagues in Texas and talking with families that may mention prior cases that have recovered and never received testing, other families that may have cases that have never sought treatment. So we think that there is an under-testing and therefore under-diagnosing and under-reporting. The outbreak in Texas started in Gaines County in January, has since expanded to multiple other jurisdictions, including parts of New Mexico. Texas has confirmed as of April 15th, 561 cases. New Mexico has confirmed 63. Most patients are either unvaccinated or have no documented doses of measles, mumps, rubella MMR vaccine more than 14 days before the onset of symptoms. 17 of the patients had received at least one MMR vaccine dose. In Gaines County and surrounding area, falling vaccine rates have been recorded for years. Federal and local health officials say 95% coverage is needed for, quote, herd immunity or community protection, but 82% of kindergartners and 90% of seventh graders in Gaines County had to receive 2 doses or a full series of the vaccines, according to the most recent data available. Underreporting of measles is not uncommon in close knit communities. And remember, we talked about this. The community it started in was it was a religious community. I can't remember the religion. 2 people have died from measles in Texas. A panel member said that factoring reported the number of cases, the fatality rate would be much higher than has just historically shown for measles outbreaks. I don't think that there is a higher mortality. Perhaps what's happening is amount of underreporting in the cases. So basically, if you want to read the whole article, you can go over and check out Zero Hedge. And I believe that is accurate because of the location that it occurred. We'll do this story and then maybe we'll just get to our regular stuff. What does Chris say here? Can a female pilot temporarily identify as a male for 2 minutes just to use the current version? You know, Chris, that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. So, rabbits. A rabbit caused a fire on a United Airlines flight after it is sucked into the engine. Now, we'll play this video here real quick. And if you see the jet, the right engine is flaming out. It's apparently because Bugs Bunny was sucked into it. So the plane had to make a return and they were diverted temporarily from their original destination after the rabbit hopped into the jet engine. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, PETA, the animal did not survive the incident. But yes, passengers aboard United Airlines flights were temporarily diverted from their destination after an incident with a rabbit affected the aircraft engine. The right engine of United Flight 2325 caught fire after a rabbit reportedly found itself on the runway as the airplane was departing Denver International Airport en route to Edmonton, Alberta. Our flight from Denver to Edmonton returned safely to Denver to address a possible wildlife strike. The aircraft returned to the gate, and we lined up a new aircraft to get our customers on their way, a spokesperson for United said. And they said that apparently it was broadcast on the radio. Rabbit through the number 2 hole. That'll do it. All right. The plane's pilot is heard as saying. It was a loud bang, significant vibration, and then there was the flame out. So they proceeded to climb. The plane can actually fly with one jet, so it wasn't that they were in great danger from Bugs Bunny, but it was backfiring and hacking and sputtering, getting its baked rabbit out of the way. So if you want to check this story out, you can check out People magazine. I'm sorry to report, PETA, that the rabbit did not survive its attempt. And somebody asked me about this yesterday, so I'm going to report on this. I don't remember who it was that asked me, but they asked about Elon Musk and how many children he had fathered. And apparently, this is according to the Wall Street Journal piece, he has fathered at least 14 children with 4 women. And apparently, he's intent on fighting civilization collapse with a legion of genetically gifted offspring, according to an explosive new journal or article in the Wall Street Journal. And they go on to talking about why it matters, the bigger picture. But apparently he has 4 different women, 14 kids, and we've learned through some reports that he's not actually friends with the kids. So yeah, this comes to us from the Daily Mail. And I just brought this up because, yeah, we do a paranormal show. So I thought this was kind of interesting. For the Daily Mail, a woman who predicted 9/11 and JFK's assassination made a chilling warning about 2025. An American psychic, and we've had plenty of those on our show, who predicted 9/11 and JFK's assassination had a chilling warning. Jean Dixon, who was born in Medford, Wisconsin, not Oregon, in 1904, went on to become one of America's most famous psychics after having some of her predictions proved earlier accurate. She initially worked with writing horoscopes that were published in newspapers and magazines across the US, and eventually she started making predictions using a crystal ball. The astrologer became known for her prophecies about major political events, and she even wrote 7 best-selling books, including an autobiography filled with her predictions for the following years. In her 1971 memoir, A Gift of Prophecy, the phenomena Jean Dixon revealed that there would be terrorist attacks as a New York skyscraper in the near future, which many believed to be the 9/11 attacks. However, her forecast extended far into the future, and some focusing on the year 2025. In her 1969 book, My Life in Prophecies, she forecast that between 2025 and 2037, a war would erupt between China and Russia. She envisioned China conquering a substantial amount of northern Russia, advancing into Finland, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and stopping at the German border. She wrote, in the year 2025, Red China will have reached an economic and political stability sufficient to forge ahead and become the great conqueror. In that year, Red China will march into China, conquer a large part of the USSR's northern area, and will not stop until it has moved into Finland, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, stopping only at the German border. It will not invade Western Europe. By that time, however, Russia will also have expanded her direct sphere of influence. It will no longer be limited to the countries of Eastern Europe, but now include Libya, Ethiopia, Iran, and much of Africa. This war of conquest will last from 2025 to 2037. Meanwhile, it was her accurate predictions that JFK would be assassinated was started her ride to fame. She wrote in the May 1956 issue of a Parade magazine that the 1960 presidential election would be won by a Democrat and who would be assassinated or die in office. President Kennedy did win the 1960 election for the Democrats and was assassinated November 26, 1963. Suspect Lee Harvey Oswald was arrested around an hour after the assassination for the murder by Dallas police officer Jay Tippit. Oswald was then shot while being escorted into a car for transfer from Dallas PD headquarters jails 2 days later. We talked about that last night on the show, I believe. She predicted Richard Nixon would become president in 1968. Would not finish his term, but he did go on to be the 37th president and began his inauguration in January 20th, 1969. But his presidency ended when he resigned August 9th, 1974, in the face of almost certain impeachment and removal from office, the only U.S. president ever to do so, forcing the Watergate scandal. Let's see. We'll go on here. But yeah, she's apparently predicted several things in 2025. China is going to attack Russia. I don't see that one happening because I think they're friends right now, but that could change. All right. Let's see. We will talk about this later about because we need to get on with our other stuff. But yeah, we'll talk about some of this later. And Wendell sent us an article there, and I'm just scanning through here to see if there's anything else real quick before we go. They have found possible signs of life, but it's 120 light years away, and 1 light year is like 1 million or 1 billion. I don't know. It's a high number of years. So. All right, let's get into our other stuff here so that we don't get too distracted from the day. But there you go. That was, come back here. That was the some of the basic frontline news and stories. All right, well, today is National Crawfish Day. It's National Get to Know Your Customers Day. And it's National High Five Day. So if you're out on the street and you see somebody, just walk up to them, give them a high five. It's National Cheese Ball Day. I like cheese balls. So you like cheese balls? It's National Haiku Poetry Day as well. So there you go. That's what today is. So go get your cheese ball. It's also National Ellis Island Family History Day. Interesting. So go get your cheese ball and your crawfish. Should high five somebody at the counter as they're getting to know you. There you go. All right. We'll get into our daily stuff. And for those of you listening on Yerg's Radio and Rainbow Radio and Radio X in Australia, I do want to encourage you to come over and join our chat and hop in. We've got quite a few good people in here, and it's a lively conversation. And we base our show around what other preppers do is they tell you how you're going to die today. We're going to talk about how the adults are in charge. And, well, you didn't die. You got another day of torture ahead of you. So we do a daily operations briefing, which is similar to what the president gets, except for we don't have the top secret mojo stuff. And we start off by reading out the daily operations briefing from FEMA. And so theirs is dated today, April 17th at 8:30 a.m. They are concerned with power outages in Puerto Rico. Yes, there's only 12% of the people in Puerto Rico that currently have power. They're monitoring heavy snow. Yes, we talked about that yesterday in the northern plains, critical fire weather in the southwest to southern plains, severe weather in the central plains to middle Mississippi Valley. And then, of course, we're going to talk about space weather, a geomagnetic storm. So hey, Northwest Wind, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I am a huge fan of your channel. So, everybody that's on here, check out the Northwest Wind's channel. He has a great channel and he's a great person. So, thanks for coming over. We really appreciate it. And sometime I'd like to have you on my Wednesday night show. We'll talk about that off the air, though. So today, the only declaration request or activity was a request from, oh my goodness, this is from Iowa, Idaho. I don't know. We'll talk about it in a minute. I'm totally thrown off. Appreciate you, my friend. Anytime. Yes, I'm so glad. I'm so glad to hear from you. And yes, I'm glad to have you a part of the channel. We love you here. So, power outages in Puerto Rico. There's a place to go camping, but you might want to bring some good stuff with you because, well, they've only got about 12% of the people that have power right now. So apparently around 12:38 p.m. Eastern time, a widespread power outage occurred across the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico due to an ongoing loss of generation. You know, Puerto Rico continually has problems with their power grid. It's got something to do with the fact that it keeps getting blown over every few years, I'm sure. But yeah, so anyhow, they're worried that there's people that are affected with food, hydration, shelter. There's 78,000 people that have no water because of this. And the hospital and medical systems are on emergency and generator power, and water plants are operating on generator power. So there's no permanent damage seen, but they are trying to add units to resume service. As of 8:30 a.m., 899,000 customers in Puerto Rico were without power, are 60% of the total customers. All right, so my numbers were a little off. Four of seven four of the seven reported communication sites were without power. Trains are out of services, with passengers being transported only by bus. So they have activated a partial activation for FEMA, and they're going in to assist with that. And they're monitoring to make sure the situation doesn't get worse. So, yes, Puerto Rico is suffering a significant power outage again. All right, so we're going to talk about today's weather. As we talked about, they are monitoring snow out in Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, Utah, and Colorado, mainly in the higher elevations. In that same area we talked about last night or yesterday, and pretty much all of New Mexico, part of Texas and Oklahoma, extending up into Colorado and Kansas. Because of the dry humidity, they're concerned about fire weather. And fire weather could be anything from an open flame causing a fire or a lightning, but it's something they're concerned about. And we're also concerned that there's a chance of extreme severe thunderstorms if possible. Up there, it's looking like it's from Wisconsin southwest, covering pretty much the tip of Illinois and all of Iowa up there. Yeah, Iowa. So be weather aware. Rain showers from the Great Lakes coming down from the Great Canadian border, almost all the way into the south, from the snowfall that's to the west. It'll extend over to the east by the Great Lakes. Now, tomorrow is where we're really going to start to worry about this because the snow is going to continue in the higher elevations. But that path from Texas to Michigan, that swath across the country, is going to see a chance for significant weather. And then on Saturday, it's going to increase the likelihood of that weather as it meets with warm Gulf air. So, talked about the fire weather outlook. It's critical. Pretty much all of New Mexico is covered. And pretty much the Southwest is under it because the dry humidity and the high heat. The severe weather outlook is pretty mild for today, except for that one segment we talked about, but there will be precipitation pretty much across the top portion of the Great Lakes and down into the Southwest. Unfortunately, none down into the fire areas. So, precipitation, excessive rainfall. The only thing, this is a 72-hour basis. This is Thursday through Saturday. So, when you look at it, the possibility for heavy rain is pretty much from Arkansas, the tip of Texas, all the way up to Indiana, Illinois area up in there. So, we'll talk about that as we go on through the week as it gets worse. FEMA is currently operating. They still have the 10 direct housings missions, and they're getting relief workers coming in from 28 different agencies, and there's 16 recovery offices working. So they have 87 major disasters and 11 emergency declarations. And you can go find out, it was Iowa, where the major disaster declaration was in those counties. We talked about that yesterday. And then we look there, and that's the requests in process from Kentucky, Oklahoma, Hawaii, Mississippi, Missouri, Kansas, Michigan, New England. Good Lord, Kansas and Iowa. All right. As I learn my high school geography today, so the next thing we usually check out is not that, is, oh, go away. No, I don't want to do that. I don't know what you're talking about, but go away. All right, so we want to get rid of that screen. Good Lord, I had to push buttons. So we talked about earlier the 9 a.m. pool press time. They have the media come in at 9 o'clock in case anything snippy or exciting happens in the White House. At noon, the president greeted the Prime Minister of the Italian Republic. At 12:05, they participate in a bilateral lunch with the Prime Minister of the Italian Republic. There's no press invited to that, but they can, for 5 minutes, meet with them as they're out front. And then at 13:05, they're going to participate in a bilateral meeting with the Prime Minister, and there will be an open press pool. And at 4 o'clock, close to the press, more executive orders. So we'll check today's news and see what they come up with. So I don't know what the executive orders are. They haven't release that information. All right, so we'll just cover this real quickly because we pretty much got the weather, but this is the National Weather Service. I always check it to make sure there's nothing that pops up that's different, but this does pretty much appear to be the same for the national forecast today. Pretty much that upper area of the country from Missouri to Nebraska over to Michigan and Canada border, the tip of Ohio there is going to see some rain, maybe some thunderstorms, the most severe part being in Illinois, with higher elevations out of the northwest, and down into Colorado getting some snow. And then tomorrow, we're going to see that chance of increased severe weather pretty much from the center of Texas all the way to Oklahoma, and it's going to extend all the way up to Michigan, that swath of the country there. It's remember, we talked about Tornado Alley, so that's going to be a chance of some significant weather while it continues to snow west of that, any higher elevations. 3-day forecast, it's going to sit there for a little bit, and the chance for heavy rain, flood, and severe thunderstorms is going to increase in that section of the country as the warm Gulf air comes up, and the rain's going to extend from a swath of Texas all the way up to Nova Scotia, while the snow will be dissipating for my friend in Colorado and higher elevations in Arizona and New Mexico. Hopefully, some of the fire areas. Let's see here. I'll go look real quick and see. I don't believe there are anything in the Pacific or the Atlantic for hurricanes at this time. No, it looks to be pretty clear. I was talking to Jurgens about that earlier. And let's see, I think that's it pretty much. They talked about the hazard assessment pretty much in the swath we talked about. All right, so as you know, most of you who are regular listeners and viewers, we have Radio X in Australia carrying us live right now. It's overnight there, so good morning to you down under. We do cover some of your weather, and we're concerned about Tropical Storm Errol. It still has winds at 90 miles an hour and is considered a Cat 3 tropical cyclone. And that cone of uncertainty still exists, but you can bank pretty much from Broome north to almost the tip there, the far west southern coast is where it's expected to make landfall. It's currently at a category 3, and they're predicting that it will downgrade to a 2, but before it hits landfall, they're not sure. So keep an eye on that if you are down under in Australia. Currently, it looks like the only rain you're is experiencing is from that cyclone, pretty much around Broome, and then down in Perth. I'm sorry, Western Australia, you're having some showers today. And of course, on the coastlines all the way around, you can expect a little bit of rain. Precipitation is anticipated to be fairly light, except for the areas around Broome where the cyclone is and in Western Australia. And we can see in the wind speeds that currently it started as a category 5 and is now down to a 3, and it is currently what is that, it's about 100 miles offshore, I think. And so they're still predicting the landfall, but keep your eyes and ears open on that. Otherwise, throughout the day in Australia, it looks like a pretty fairly wind-free day. Only some gusts on the west side of the continent will be high, but pretty much it'll be cool. Speaking of temperature, cool. I'm stumbling through today's. I'm sorry, guys and gals. We do, unfortunately, I only do this in Fahrenheit. On the West Coast, you're going to be in the highs in the 80s, and in the lower part of Western Australia, the lower half, it's going to be in the 70s, dropping down to the 60s. Center of the country is only going to be highs in the 70s, and then along the northeastern coast, you're going to see a little bit of heat rise in the high 70s, but down in Melbourne, expect a 67, and Canberra, 44 degrees. So, all right. That is my butchered attempt at Australian weather. Sorry, guys and gals. I'm still learning some of these things. All right. So currently, we'll see what we have here. It's in the 80s in the Keys. It's 83 at Yerg's Radio. Up in Vermont, it is currently in the 40s. If you're over near Detroit, it's in the 60s. My friends in Ohio, it's in the 60s. And Amanda down in Louisiana, it's in the 70s. And my friends over on the East Coast on the Atlantic Seaboard, it's in the high 50s. Hop over to Seattle. It's always mild in Seattle. It's in the 60s and it's extending down. There's really the hottest part of the country today is the center core, and Texas is bearing the brunt of it, with the highest being in Lubbock and Odessa. So that's where the main heat is right now. 78 in Memphis. And we're currently sitting here in Knoxville in the 70s, and down in Atlanta, you're in the 70s. That's the current satellite. And this is going to be cool to talk about because we're going to talk about the constellation that we're not the constellation, but the brain cramp meteor shower we're expecting in the Aurora Boreal. So we'll talk about that. There's the current radar. We discussed that. I'm going to show a little bit more in detail on that. We'll look at the wind, but we've got the bigger one coming up. This one's cool, Chris, but it's not as cool as the other one. So, all right. And I noticed this last night, but the humidity that was here in Knoxville, it dropped last night tremendously. I mean, it dropped quickly. So the humidity decreased coming up off of the Gulf last night. I was kind of surprised by that. And Chris, here is our big, beautiful globe. No, you can export that as a PDF. Why would you want to do that? I don't know. All right, so here's our big, beautiful globe. This is, if you're listening on Yerg's Radio, Radio X, or Rainbow Radio, this is basically the world in real time. It's a satellite photo. It does not have radar. It just shows cloud cover. And there's a big black spot down at the bottom of the globe that we've still yet to figure out. So you can go find this at the National Environmental Satellite Data and Information Service, which is a part of NOAA, and you can see the cloud cover, the day-night zone in real time. So there you go. We'll zoom in here, Australia, and we can see Earl is just kind of off the shore there doing its own little thing, so keep an eye on that. But that is this. We like to say the big, blue, brown, beautiful globe. You can find that over at the NOAA website. All right, we're going to go next to, this is one of our favorites. This is weather warning, and I've told you guys about this site a couple times. Weather warning, we're not affiliated. We don't do anything but share their data online, and they're a great source when it's working uh, to get data in real time from the National Weather Service. And I will warn you, if you go over there the first time, your computer is going to beep like crazy. Yeah, I don't know why it was up earlier. Is it down? That's welcome. There we go. All right, so Georgia special weather statement. Wonder what the special weather statement is. Let's look and see. That's from my neck of the woods. High fire danger. Okay, well the South are extending that. We talked about the low humidity last night, and it dropped. The humidity dropped badly. I could feel it. So there we go. Andy is doing a test message up in Maryland. So Andy, if you're listening, uh, a wind advisory in Nevada, California, a fire weather watch in Texas, along with red flag warnings. In Minnesota, there's a severe thunderstorm warning. Currently, we'll look at the lightning here in a few minutes from it. And let's see. Arkansas wind advisory, Wisconsin severe thunderstorm. Yeah, shocking. So what would be a good Australian word for shocking, Chris? A blizzard warning. I'm sorry, this is Alaska. Saying Arkansas. There's a blizzard warning in Alaska on the north east and actually just pretty much the whole northern slope is expecting some extreme winter weather, blizzard conditions, total snow accumulations up to 2 inches. All right. I was saying that was Arkansas. Arkansas, you're gonna get a blizzard. Now the winter weather advisory is for Alaska, not Arkansas. So my Mountain Dew is not kicked in yet, guys and gals. Anybody that wants to, you can look on my in the show description, buy me a Mountain Dew because the second one of the day has not kicked in yet. High wind warning in Colorado. We've not yet looked at the wind map. New Mexico, high wind warning. And so, Colorado, we talked about the higher elevations, winter storm warnings, winter weather advisories. And Arkansas, there we go. Arkansas, Mississippi, flood warnings. And it's also extending into Texas. Wait a minute. I got to have a sip of Mountain Dew to go on. So, Arkansas, Mississippi, and Tennessee, there's a flood warning. And I expect that that's probably just the corner of Tennessee. Red flag in Oklahoma. We hope it doesn't get bad in Oklahoma like it was last week. Holy cow. And Nebraska, an air quality alert. Nope, this is the wrong one. Nebraska, an air quality alert. We'll talk about that here in a second. But it looks like they're having a collaboration with the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services and Nebraska Environmental Energy. Air quality in central Nebraska is, well, air qualities are moderate, and so they've put out an air quality warning. Small craft advisory, that is up into the outskirts of the Chesapeake Bay, are the, was that the Delmarva shore, actually. Yeah, I knew that one. It's because I was a Yankee at one point in time. South Dakota, Wyoming, winter weather, Florida, special weather statement. It's probably going to be Riptide. Nope. Let's see. Low RH values, 25 to 35% are expected this afternoon into the evening across portions of southwest Florida. The RH values combined with dry vegetation and persistent dry weather will cause an increased fire concerns. Burn bans are in effect. Do not burn. There it is for the day. And let's see. Keep going down here a little bit. See if there's anything new that jumps out at us. And not seeing anything. If anybody else sees anything in the chat, let me know. But I'm not seeing anything. All right. Of course, rip current. That's probably down all along the coast. All right, so this is the current weather map. We talked about the radar. The blue dots represent earthquakes. We'll cover earthquakes here in a bit. And we see the rain is pretty much, as we talked about, where is that? This is up just pretty much across central Illinois, Springfield north almost to Chicago, with some heavier ones up towards the state border there with Iowa. That's where the most severe weather is. The winter weather advisories we can see in the pink and purple in the Colorado and in the Montana area, extending all the way down. But then we get the red flag warnings in New Mexico and Texas. This comes to us from GEMA, which is the Georgia Emergency Management Agency. We'll hop down here to San Juan, Puerto Rico, and we'll see there's some storms uh, off the shore, but only the one big cell pretty much over that Florida. So they were working to restore power down there. I don't think this covers Australia, but it might. Let's go down here and look. Yep, it sure does. How about that? All right, so the track of Earl in the Indian Sea is extending to where it's going to be coming and turning sharply east, coming in, that kind of uncertainty we talked about. And there's some pretty severe storms offshore at this time. And of course, that's always the bad side, the left side of the storm. So be weather aware in Derby. Speaking of being weather aware, I'd like to remind everybody that they need to have a weather radio. Cranky, cranky. There you, I like it, Chris. I like it. I knew you keep me on my toes. Um, I want to remind everybody to have a weather radio, some type of tool in your pocket, preferably one that's sharp and pointy in case you got to cut yourself out of anything, and a flashlight. And speaking of which, I'm not endorsing it yet, but I will probably do an unboxing. I ordered a little flashlight that has taken the internet by storm, and I'm going to pronounce the name wrong. It's WBEN Woobin G5. Uh, it's like a $20 flashlight. It costs almost as much in shipping to get the dang thing, but it's taken the internet by storm, and it's all the rage of pretty much all the preppers, all the EDC, everyday carry groups. So I ordered one. We'll see what happens. Mrs. Sportcat will find out about it later today. So if I'm not around tomorrow, you'll know why. It's because I ordered that. Oh, and I ordered a challenge coin from Key West, but that's another story. So yeah, so I will give you a review on that flashlight, but everybody should have a flashlight nearby. I know Wendell said he ordered a case of them from Temu the other day. So this is the current wind map. This is not our favorite wind map, but this is our current wind map in the United States. And this was as of 1409, 209, which was about a minute ago. We're looking pretty much, if you're on the Atlantic, pretty much Florida coastline, there is no wind to speak of, extending all the way into the pretty much from the, it follows pretty much the Appalachia north into New England, where there's not a lot of wind. Only do you start to see wind coming off of the Great Lakes or up there, extending down to the Atlantic and New England area, but they're not that severe. But that Gulf moisture is pretty much from, we'll call it Mobile, Alabama, west all the way across the country to LA. Or of course, there it's the Pacific, not the Gulf of America, but it's just pulling that air straight up from the south where it's circulating over the Rockies. And that's probably what's causing that snowfall in the Rockies. And this is a Columbus, Ohio intensive wind map. Exactly. Exactly. So, yeah, you'd think they'd have Atlanta on there too. I'm just pointing that out, but whatever. So, yes, and this is the United States wind map, and they're currently showing the highest wind in the U.S. is at 36.1 miles an hour, and I'm gonna guess it's probably in Denver on the higher. No, it's not. I don't know where it would be. I thought it would be in Denver in the higher elevations. What is it in Chicago? It's 16. So, but yeah, well, it might be the turbulent air going across San Diego in the Sierra Nevada mountains. Maybe that's where it is. But that's your current wind map, and you can find that online. I think that is actually, what is it? FM hint.fm/wind. All right. So we said we'd look at the current lightning. And for those of you, especially Northwest outdoors, this is a good site to have because this is the current lightning map. And you can find this at lightningmap.org, org.org. And we can see that right now, the most intense storms are pretty much from LaCroix, extending to the southwest, almost all the way to Grand Forks, with it being just south of Largo, southeast of Largo, Fargo, not Largo, being an intense storm in southeast of St. Paul is where the main part of that current weather is. The little cell is currently down in Wyoming, pretty much down there. Well, it's along the border of Colorado, with another small cell over in, where is this? Utah. This is down into The Wawa Mountain Wilderness area is where that storm is located. And let's zoom down here to see what Puerto Rico is doing. We overshot it a bit. It doesn't look like there's much lightning around Puerto Rico at the time. Most of the lightning is off in the Atlantic past Bermuda, which is good news. We'll go up to Alaska and see nothing up there, no lightning activity there. And let's see if we can see what's going on down under in Australia with Earl. You know, surprisingly, that storm is not producing a large amount of lightning. So um, the main lightning is offshore to the pretty much to the north of Perth. And down in the center of Western Australia, there's a small cell with some lightning activity. Interesting. I would have thought with that cyclone there would have been more lightning than there is. But there is lightningmap.org. You can go there and check it out. And if you're going to be doing any outdoors activity, it's a good site to have and a good site to keep up with. All right, let's refresh this one. This is the U.S. power outage map. And I'm kind of disappointed here because it is not showing Puerto Rico at all. And that's annoying because we know Puerto Rico is without power. Let's see if we can go to power regions. United States. No, it doesn't. Why do we not have Puerto Rico on here? I want to know. Inquiring minds want to know because it's showing most of the country is pretty much not having any problems with power. But we know that Puerto Rico is. So why are they not? It should be. We should have that. That data should be here because we have it for Hawaii, the Virgin Islands, but we don't have it. We have it for Alaska, but we don't have it for Puerto Rico. So, and we saw earlier that they were pretty much without power. I'm going to look around here and see if we can find region. No, territories. See if that shows us anything. Puerto Rico. Well, this is obviously wrong because they're saying customers are without zero. So this site, maybe the site that gives them the data is without power because we just reported FEMA saying as of 8:30 this morning, 60% of the population of Puerto Rico is without power. So yeah, that's not right. Oh, mercy. All right. So we talked about space, and last night the Aurora did not get as far south as they anticipated, but the geomagnetic storm did cause some problems in the Middle East and pretty much that whole area, Southeast Asia. But we see today that the activity isn't as significant as it was yesterday if you're looking at the bigger picture, and we're going to be able to see the northern lights really not anywhere in the United States today. So let's take a look at the we'll take a look at the storm and see they're talking that sometime they're expecting sometime on the 16th, which was yesterday. That was the major portion of the storm. Otherwise, it doesn't look like we're going to have a whole lot of geo activity. So the major disturbances will be up into the Asia region of the country or of the world. So that comes to us from the Space Weather Prediction Center in Boulder, Colorado. So there's really nothing to be concerned about coming from space today, except the aliens. The aliens are coming. All right, we do discuss air quality in the world, in the United States, and we see, down in Georgia, it looks pretty much from Tallahassee to the north, almost to Warner Robins, Macon area, some pretty poor air quality there. Actually, it's pretty bad air quality. Pretty much all of Georgia and Alabama are going to experience some moderate air conditions today, meaning that breathing for people who have any type of respiratory problem is, it's going to be hampered. So over in the Northeast, it looks pretty good for you guys. Chris, and for you over there, the Northwest wind, it looks like Ohio is going to have a little bit of trouble, moderate to trouble breathing. They call it moderate. I think it depends on your health conditions. Chris, you in Illinois, you're going to have areas of Springfield that are going to have some concerns. Of course, Chicago, with the worst today being, even with the snow, the worst today is going to be north of Cheyenne, Wyoming. That's going to be the worst spot for the Midwest. But the absolute worst in the country is down just north of Tallahassee, extending all the way north up to almost Warner Robins, to the south over almost to, well, it's past Dothan and down into Valdosta. Good Lord. And pretty much the panhandle down there of Florida, the Gulf of America. See, it says Gulf of America right there. So, all right. So that is that. That's your air quality map for today. And let's look at the one that I never believe, because I don't think they ever change this thing. This is Thursday, that is today, the tree pollen map. And pretty much where I am, Tennessee, you're going to die. It's red. It starts up in the mid-Atlantic area, extending down along the coast and all the way across Texas, pretty much the center swath of the country. It's starting to pop up a little bit in the Rockies and to the west points of that, the Sierra Nevadas. But the worst part, certainly right now, is not the deep south, the center south, Kentucky, Tennessee, Southwest Virginia, and North Carolina. North Carolina are the worst for tree pollen allergies right now on the right side of the country. On the other side of the Mississippi, pretty much New Mexico, extending up into Oklahoma. Yeah, parts down not past Oklahoma into Iowa. Some moderate air. I don't believe this. I don't believe this for a minute, because I tell you, it sucks. The air outside sucks right now in Knoxville. Scientists got a prediction wrong. What? Well, oh well, I will blindly go on believing everything they tell me. Chris, here's the way it works. You're hearing it from me on the internet, so it must be real. Isn't that the way it works? And I'm just reading them. I'm just reading a map, but I don't believe that for a minute. You go outside right now in Tennessee, you will die. It's yellow out there. But you get the weed pollen. Look at this. Weed pollen, none. Don't believe it. Don't believe it for a minute. It's horrible out there. Don't go outside if you're in Tennessee, is my message to you. You will die. Oh man, it is really bad out there. When I first moved to East Tennessee from the Washington, D.C. region, never had a single allergy in my life. First year in East Tennessee, I thought I was going to die. It was so horrible. I used to make fun of the hay farmers, like stupid hay farmers. So, but it wasn't. Oh, there is a hay season, but man, pollen in the spring will kill you. This is the aches and pains map. I don't know that I put much faith in this, but maybe if you get a pissed off call or something and you look at the aches and pains map and see where it is, maybe that'll give you excuse to give them a pass. But it looks like up in the Great Lakes region, Michigan, north into the west, extending down. Well, I guess it's pretty much all of you there, Chris, in Illinois. So you got to pass the day if you're in a grumpy mood. And all of Iowa, not Idaho. Idaho's over here, and they're in the moderate range. So, Chris, you can go punch somebody, so that's fine. You'll get a pass today. The breathing map, Knoxville. Knoxville's right about there. You see, it says green. That's wrong. You go outside right now, you'll die. Just listen to me. If you're in Knoxville, don't go outside. The air sucks. But the breathing map is showing that pretty much all the Northeast up into New England region, you're fine. Mid-Atlantic, you're fine. Up in the great Southwest of Oregon and Washington, extending pretty much all the way over across the country. It's good. That little area of New Mexico, corner of Texas, Oklahoma, and extending back to Arizona is where you're going to see some problems. That's probably due to the heat and dust. So, but there you go. There we have I don't believe it for a minute. So since I've got myself riled up, let's take a moment to recognize, for those of you that are listening on Yerg's Radio, Rainbow Radio, or Radio X in Australia, especially in Australia, if you're amused by my stupidity, come over and check out our AI wind generated map. It is not our map. We're just merely showing this, and I recommend that you get some calm, meditative, maybe some Tai Chi music on, put some earbuds on listening to that, and get a 50-inch plasma TV, paint your walls black, put blackout curtains on, and then put this up because this is the big blue, beautiful globe, and it is showing, AI is showing where the wind is flowing. You can also change this for those of you that might not believe that we have a big, beautiful globe or ball. We have a big, beautiful plate. You can change the setting to have it on a plate too. You can also see wave activity and such. I'll show you here in a minute. But we look at the big, beautiful map, and we can move it around, and we see pretty much in the United States what we were talking about earlier. That dry area, pretty much from Mobile, Alabama, up to pretty much Chesapeake Bay down to Florida, is just dry with hardly any air movement. Most of the air movement is coming out of the Gulf of America straight up through the center of the country into our Canadian friends. And then from the Pacific coming over the Rocky Mountains, meeting up with that and going into Canada as well. There's one little front trying to push down into Canada. That is the one causing the snow that we're experiencing right now. Let's go down under and see what it looks like for them. And as we talked about, up where the storm is going to be the windiest areas of Australia today. And it's going to be pretty mild wind-wise, except for maybe Western Australia down along the coastline. Otherwise, you can expect a pretty wind-free day. And hey, they don't have a black spot down here, Chris. So we're not held up on a stick. You can go down under and look at that. I don't even know what to say about that. That it looks like a what was those things we played with in school where you moved the sand around and it had different colored sand and it made waves? That's what it reminds me of when you look at the bottom of our big, beautiful blue globe. Chris, you got me doing this. Go up top here to Antarctica. Or hold on, I gotta find it. I'm lost. I find my geography here. Hold on, there we go. I know where I'm at now. Up into Antarctica. And we look up there. It's not as defining as it is down south, the South Pole. Wonder why. Up here, it's where Santa lives. It's not a very windy day. So, all right. All right, enough of my silliness for one day. You can check this out for yourself if you want to see it. You can go to earth.nullschool.net and you can bring it up. You can make it in a big, beautiful globe. You can also, if you want to see what the ocean is doing, you can change it to see the waves. You can change it to see the different tidal path. This is good. The wind service showing the carbon dioxide. This is also good to show you for coming out of Africa, the dust storms and stuff. It also later during the year we'll probably use this where it starts talking about hurricane activity in the Atlantic. We can look at the particulates, which is if you're house cleaning, and then I'm not sure what this one is. It says space, wind surface probabilities, visible aura. Okay, so this is your aura map. Wow. So yeah, not a whole lot of activity today from the sun coming down on any of us being affected. Let's see. Currents. We did the currents. Did we not do the currents? We did the waves. Go back to the ocean. There we go. Currents and waves. We do the currents and we can do the waves on this. This is the currents, showing the currents right now in the Gulf of America, how they're kind of spinning, and it's kind of pulling off, well, from the pretty much the tip of Florida all the way up along the New England coast. So there you go. There's that. You can go check it out. It's a great site. Love this site. I wanted to talk about this since we've talked about flooding so much here recently, and it's actually updated today. Where the droughts are in the United States, because we've talked about flooding so much. I got to thinking, well, surely a lot of these areas must not be having a problem with a drought. We see that most of the deep south is good. When I say deep south, I mean Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, not so much. And then extending up into the mid-Atlantic Ohio region, pretty much we don't have to worry about drought. Now, along the coast, coming down from Vermont to New Hampshire, over the coastline, following that down through Virginia and almost all of North Carolina and South Carolina, there's some mild to moderate droughts, with droughts also being in lower Florida, pretty much the lower part of Florida from Tampa southwest. And over in the western part of the country, along the border, they have some extreme drought conditions. So that is your most recent update. We can see in Alaska, they have some drought conditions along the coastline. That's kind of shocking. And Hawaii has some mild drought conditions. And Puerto Rico, we either don't have any reports or don't care because it's not showing. What is wrong? We don't give any data about Puerto Rico. It's poor people. So you can find this at the U.S. Drought Monitor if you want to check it out yourself. And we'll go on from there. This is wildfire.gov. This is our wildfire map. And we keep an eye on what's burning and where. Look down here, and we've got a prescribed burn in Florida. That's not new. It's still burning over in the Appalachia of Big Ridge, Rattlesnake, Bee Rock Creek, and those areas. That is along the Appalachia on the North-South Carolina line from pretty much Virginia down, following the south side of the Appalachians. And then we have some fires in Texas, and Colorado is experiencing some new fires, and so is New Mexico. Phoenix and California always has some fires up there. Rocky Mountains, not too bad, but in Idaho and Wyoming on the western side of the Rockies, there's some fires. And up along the Canadian border, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan, there are some fires. I'm going to say these are probably prescribed burns up here if I had to guess. Yeah, prescribed burns. And you can click on these. And this is what is wildfire.gov, and it will tell you if there are actual fires or if it's prescribed burns. Like the ones in Texas, most of them are prescribed burns. This time of year, I expect to see a lot of prescribed burns. And it will start breaking out, getting really bad like it is right now over into Carolinas later this year. So, but yeah, a lot of these fires currently are prescribed burns, which is good news. So we want to see the prescribed burns. So, all right, so that is the one map, but I'll show you the one I really like that shows you what's big, what's little. This is the NASA fire map. It's cool because it takes and uses satellite technology to identify flames and then send people out to see if something is burning. And then they identify it as a working fire. And they also tell you the difference between prescribed burns and working fires. And you can click on them and get data. Like, for instance, the Deep Woods fire in North Carolina is 3,969 acres and is not contained at all. So you can click on them and see any of the little red dots. That means that something has either been called in to the National Forestry Service or satellite has spotted it. It could be as simple as a brush fire in a neighborhood, or it could be a house fire. So we still have this in Knoxville. And I suspect that this is the Sharps Ridge fire, that it's just a little bit off with the satellite, because on the southern side of Sharps Ridge, the southern side of Sharps Ridge, they have had some brush fires. So I suspect that that's what that is. Down in Atlanta, Metro Atlanta, I don't really see any. Maybe up along, what is that, Lawrenceville, Sugar Hill one, but I don't see many fires there. And those are not confirmed, or they're small fires, and they've only been reported. So, and you can see areas like, we'll see, look at this. We'll watch this in Tallahassee here, Valdosta, this area right here. We'll watch this and see if tomorrow this pops up as a fire, since there's so many reports of little fires, or hopefully they can get it contained. So up in Ohio, where my friends are up there, doesn't look like there's anything too major. There's been some fires reported, but it doesn't look like there's any major fires. Chris, for you over in Illinois, doesn't look to be much going on there either. So you're in the clear. Denise, over on the Northeast coast, KG in Southwest Virginia, you have the little fire that's crossed over the Appalachian Mountains. But Mississippi, there's the one fire. The big deep pink in lighter pink is showing us where the fire weather warnings are, and where we talked about pretty much New Mexico, where it's more intense today. So one major fire over in Silver Fire in California, just northwest of Fresno. 1,611,000 acres is burning. It is 0% contained. All right. So since we're looking at that, let's look and see what that's doing to our air quality. And we will see that a lot of the smoke is pretty much stationary. It's sitting here. See, this is what I tell you, the air quality isn't that great, even though they're lying to you. A lot of the smoke coming out of the Appalachians is moving to the south and the southeast, and it's just kind of sitting in the deep south, pretty much all of Georgia, Alabama, parts of Mississippi, all that smoke from the Appalachian Mountains just sitting there. It's going to be a hazy, smoky day. The fire is burning out in the center of the country. The wind's pretty much keeping them in place, and they're not blowing anywhere. So, um, where did we say the worst air quality was for today? It was down around Tallahassee, was it not? And we see that's probably because of these fires. So, most of the smoke is being pushed to the southeast slightly, but it's not moving along as well as it could. So, it's going to sit there to accumulate. Up in the northeast, really don't see a problem. Over in the central part of the country, don't see a whole lot of problem with smoke over there, except maybe up, what is that, St. Cloud, you might have some issues. And looking to the west, California, pretty much central California, uh, you're going to have some light to moderate smoke conditions. And up in Seattle, in that area, it looks to be fairly clear. We'll zoom out slightly and see nothing too major. And I don't think we will get any information down under on this. I think this is just the US. All right. How am I doing on time? It's 2:34. All right. We're doing good. We got this, guys and gals. All right. So every day we talk about major events that have happened in the world. And since we were catching up yesterday, we caught up a lot. We talked about biological events. There were the honeybee and bear attacks in India. So be careful there. And that's something also in Tennessee we have to start worrying about is the bears coming out of hibernation. It's that time of year, and when they have their cubs, stay away. Do not go try and pet Smokey. He is not your friend. Every year, somebody gets attacked by a bear because they try to pet them. Stupid people. We talked about the measles outbreak in Texas, and let's see. This was overnight for us in Australia. 1 dead, 12 infected after a Legionnaire's outbreak in Sydney. That's interesting. All right. In Africa, a chicken Ugaya, I don't know, outbreak kills 6 on France's Reunion Island, and that's in Africa. Okay. In Nigeria, death toll hits 127 in Nigeria. And critical infrastructure. Why do they not have Puerto Rico listed here? Puerto Rico should be listed there. Let's see. Cyber attacks. The Russia Federation hacking group Anonymous has targeted Russia, demanding the release of the Trump files. What? Okay, we'll leave it at that. What? Armenia, shots fired by an Al Jazeerian near Armenia's Kalzavan border village. All right, so that was overnight. Yemen, Houthi missiles. Well, yeah. Yemen, Houthi, we'll just leave that one alone because it's going to keep going. Nigeria, 13 killed, 50 houses burnt in an attack overnight. And mass displacement, nothing new yesterday. We talked about the 4 Pakistanis among 11 dead as the migrant boat capsized off the Libya coast. Talked about that yesterday. In the United States, triple stabbing, and I've talked to my guests and fans about this. The stabbing incidents are going to be increasing. Triple stabbing in Inwood leaves 1 man dead, 2 others injured, and that is in the U.S. Where is that? Inwood, where is that? Let's pull this up real quick. That was new to us. 1 person was killed, 2 others were injured in triple stabbing in Manhattan on Wednesday, according to police officials. Stabbing happening at the intersection of Broadway and Inwood. And a 20-year-old man was slashed in the neck and taken to Harlem Hospital. A 24-year-old man was stabbed in the neck, and a 21-year-old male was stabbed in the hand and back. Both were taken to New York Presbyterian Hospital by private means. The 24-year-old died from his injury. So the 24-year-old man was stabbed in the neck. All right, so what this tells me, and if you pay attention to this, the headline will tell you this, but where this occurred, and it's right pretty much the New York, New Jersey line there, Manhattan, the person that did this knife attack had training in knives and how to use knives. The hand and back injury were self-defense, but the two to the neck were intentional, and they knew what they were doing with the knife attack. So pay attention. We're going to start seeing a lot more of those. If you don't believe me, just keep watching the mainstream media. In the United States, an SUV crashed into the Gresham building after reports of shots fired. One man in custody. And a teen boy shot in Calumet High School dead after classes let out. That was breaking as we were on. And I have not got a follow-up aside for the FSU incident. 4 were transported was the last update I got on that. Hungary marathon protests against the restriction of the right to assembly in Budapest. Everybody has the right to assemble. In India, unidentified men hurl crude bombs in Odisha's Birdik with 7 injuries. So that's in India overnight. All right, well, bombs. They were hurling bombs. How do you hurl a bomb? All right. We know about Ukraine, Israel, the Middle East. United States explosion destroys a building at Northrop Grumman facility in Utah. That's new. We didn't hear anything about that. Let's pull that up real quick. An explosion ripped through a building in Northrop Grumman Rocket Garden in Elder County, Utah, early Wednesday morning. The Box Elder County Sheriff's Office confirmed the blast occurred at approximately 7:38 a.m. local time. A video provided to Fox 13 Local showed a plume of dark smoke rising from the site, with residents in the area reporting the explosion shook nearby homes. Officials said the cause of the explosion remains under investigation. A photo released by the Sheriff's Department shows extensive damage, indicating that the structure involved in the blast was likely a total loss. As of Wednesday afternoon, no reports have been issued regarding a hazardous substance in the air. Authorities said there were no indications the incident posed an immediate threat and risk to nearby communities. This time, we are not aware of any injuries, but that may change as our investigation continues, according to the sheriff. All right, so apparently in the advanced propulsion system building, there was some type of explosion. There was potential for exposure of rocket propellant and related chemicals, but it did not involve a solid rocket booster area. But apparently, they had a mishap at Northrop Grumman. Good Lord. So, and of course, we will never know. We will never know what really happened. That's the American way. We will never know. All right. Let's see. Canada, 2 injured in a fire at Winnipeg Industrial Facility. That was that was the other day. And outdoor fires. We talk about a lot about the outdoor fires, but we pretty much just say Africa, Asia, Europe, Mexico. You're experiencing some things. Earthquakes. We'll get into that here in just a minute. For Wendell, volcanic eruption, Kilauea erupted. We'll talk about that. I got a new website I found for that Wendell like. Flooding. We talked about that. Breakdown of energy. Power outage. We talked about that for Puerto Rico. Let's see. Nothing new there. Nothing new there. United States family of 5, including 3 children, found dead in Ohio home from carbon monoxide poisoning. I'll pull that up real quick because I would like to emphasize that everyone should have a CO detector, carbon monoxide detector, in your home, and it should be checked regularly. 5 people, including 3 children, were found dead inside a home in Ohio. What authorities have determined was a case of carbon monoxide poisoning, according to officials. The bodies were discovered shortly after 10:44 a.m. on Tuesday when a family member called 911 to report 5 unresponsive individuals. Now, when we get a call as a responder to that many people, usually if it's more than 2, little spidey sense should be going up, indicating that there's something going on. You need to have a full hazmat response, that there's something going on if you have that many people sick and injured in one spot. So they went out there and have determined that they found 3 children dead inside a home. This could have been probably, I won't say it couldn't happen or wouldn't happen, but probably could have been mitigated if they had had a carbon monoxide detector. So our thoughts and prayers go out to them. They were saying that the family had been using a generator inside a home following a storm-related power outage the previous day. So it's truly heartbreaking, according to local officials. I want you to join them in prayer for their lives lost. Do not operate a generator indoors. And please, please, please have working carbon monoxide and smoke detectors in your home for you and your family's safety. Let's see here. Traffic incident: a helicopter crashed in Melbourne. And there's also, well, we talked about the flame out. They didn't really list that. The Bugs Bunny hitting the United Jets. Uh, United States: accident in a fishing tournament in Alabama kills three. Wendell had actually sent me this story, but I'll pull it up here. Two boats collided during a fishing tournament Wednesday in Alabama, killing three people. Officials said Major League Fishing said in the statements that a boating accident occurred during the second day of the Tackle Warehouse Invitational held on Lewis Smith Lake, a popular recreational destination about 70 miles north of Birmingham. The Alabama law enforcement agency, which is investigating the crash, said a bass fishing boat struck a center console type vessel early Wednesday morning. Three people aboard the vessel were killed. Neither the state agency nor Major League Fishing released information about what led to the crash. Major League Fishing said in a statement that competitor Flint Davis was involved. State agency also said Joey M. Broom, 58, of Altoona, was fatally injured in the collision. John K. Clark, 44, of Coleman, and Jeffrey C. Little, 62, of Brandon, Mississippi, were thrown overboard and therefore drowned. They just said this is a heartbreaking moment for our entire organization. That's from a Major League Fishing executive statement. And our deepest condolences go out to the families and those affected by this tragedy. And I believe they canceled, yes, they did. They canceled the third day of events in Major League Fishing. So, see, just being fishing can get you killed in the United States. All right, so let's see. Over in the Congo, a boat catches fire and capsizes, leaving 50 people dead. We talked about the cyclone spitting in the Indian Ocean. We talked about the other one. Let's see. Droughts we covered already. Sandstorm in Iraq. Yeah, sandstorm's bad. And we talked about hail yesterday, but apparently in Kansas, in Lynn County, in Miami County, there was some extensive hail damage. Lightning, we talked about. Let's see. Thick fog. I still don't understand thick fog. I need to research that more. Let's see. I think that's pretty much all of the event list. We'll pull this map up. This is a big, beautiful, colorful map that pretty much shows us the exact same things that we talked about. You can zoom out and get things in the other parts of the world, like flooding in Iceland, up in Antarctica. What is that up there? Why not? Winter storm, and about the high winds and blizzard warnings. And we talked about there was an earthquake in California yesterday, and Kilauea erupted about 6 days ago. You can zoom in and see a little bit more closely. Center of the country's got a lot of activities with fire incidents. But this is pretty much just shows us the same thing. Hold on, I gotta stop that. All right, so pretty much this shows us the same things we were talking about. Let me push another button before this gets carried away. That is my grandson trying to call me and join in, but I can't have my grandson calling and join in at the moment. You all might like it, but I don't know that I'd like it. All right, so you can zoom out and see incidents worldwide. We'll see. We'll zoom into Australia. We talked about Cyclone Earl. What do we have over here? Wildfires southwest of Timber Creek. This is talking about fires in the Northern Territory and fires in the Queensland. They're a couple days old, so there's nothing new there, really, doesn't look like. And coastal surf advisory, large coastal surf in Queensland. Okay, that's a new warning for us. We don't see those too often. And flooding in Revine in the center of Queensland. All right, so there's that. And what's on here? Let's scoot. I want to show you some new toys we found. All right, this is from the Global Disaster Alert and Coordination System, and this shows in real time where the most recent events were. And we talked about pretty much the earthquakes, tropical cyclones with Earl. We talked about flooding in Africa, volcanic activity. Wendell will discuss that here in just a minute. Um, so we've pretty much covered all that, but you can go check it out. Sometimes you will see something that pops up on one that doesn't pop up on another, kind of like the Puerto Rico incident. I don't understand why Puerto Rico is not being reported more intensely. All right, let me refresh this. This is one of Wendell's favorite. It shows us where the earthquakes are in the world. Anything greater than 2.5 in real time. And the most recent one is in Kimby, Papa. And I'm going to say it's in New Guinea. It's the most recent one of a 4.7. And let's see, the next largest one was the Galapagos Island of a 5.2, a 4.9 down in Timor-Leste. It's in Asia. And Tonga had a 4.9. Indonesia had a 5.6. All right, so we'll go back here to the beginning, and you can see that the most recent one, well, that one right there, is in Astrica. Wow. Africa? No, it's Alaska, not Astrica. Oh, goodness gracious. And it was, what was it? It was a 2.8, Pedro Bay, Alaska. Oh, goodness gracious. I can't. I just can't. Is it Monday? What day is today? All right, Wendell, I found this one for you. I think you'll like this one. This is an interactive map of volcanic activity and earthquakes worldwide. And you can zoom it in and you can look at all the volcanoes and earthquakes. I know you're going to ask about Wyoming. Let's see. Wait a minute, hold on here. I got backed up here. I thought maybe it was your dog. Nope. It was my grandson calling. He wants to talk online. He's got an iPad and he's learned how to do FaceTime. So yeah, well, yeah. All right, so Wendell, you'll love this map. It's an interactive map of volcanic and earthquake activity worldwide. You can click on it, you can zoom in, and it'll give you information on things that are going on in real time. And so the volcano activity is something we really don't talk about a lot here, but we see that persistent down in South America, almost pretty much all the way Colombia to Peru, and down in Argentina, Bolivia. Over Africa, Ethiopia, you have some activity, volcanic activity. Up in Europe, you have some volcanic activity. And in Australia, you don't have a lot of volcanic activity, but you do have to the northwest a lot of, well, no, I take that back. You do have volcanic activity, but most of your activity is earthquake related. But you can pull this up and it will give you the most recent data and real time. No, don't, wrong button. Central America does look like it's all volcanoes. Chris, from flying over that, we flew through, well, I guess we didn't fly through, we flew around and over in South America, volcanic activity. And that ash to a plane is deadly, but it was really cool seeing from the sky. So I did get to see that. When I was a flight medic, I got to see several incredible things. We got to see the actual last space shuttle launched. We got to see it off the coast of Florida in a holding pattern. And so we could see it from around 40,000 feet, and it passed overhead the last space shuttle. Hello, Brenda. Good morning. Hood morning. Well, I don't know if you're in the hood, but good morning, Brenda. Welcome. So this is the interactive map of volcanic and earthquake activity worldwide. I thought I turned him off. I'm gonna have to answer him eventually. So all right. So let's see. All right. So Wendell, I know you were gonna ask Yellowstone Observatory. Yes, Wendell. No, not that button. This button. Wendell, the Yellowstone Volcanic Observatory monthly update. This was dated April 1st. And they're summarizing that the Yellowstone activity remains at background levels with 70 located earthquakes in March, with the largest being 2.2, indicate a small amount of subsidence in early October. Although a major eruption of Steamboat Geyser did not occur in March, frequent minor activity started in early March and lasted throughout the month. The pattern of activity suggests a major eruption will occur within the coming week. Talked about seismic activity according to Utah seismic stations, and the greatest one was a micro earthquake at 2.2, 6 miles north of West Yellowstone, Montana on March 20th. And they've had two swarms of earthquake, and a swarm of 22 earthquakes is located 6 miles west of Yellowstone, Montana during March 3rd and 4th, with the highest with the largest earthquake in the sequence was a magnitude of 0.55. Swarm of 11 earthquakes occurred 6 miles north of West Yellowstone, Montana during March 19th through the 22nd. And you can look at the data there. So they're saying that something could happen, but something may not happen at all. So there you go. But there is your Yellowstone activity report. That is fresh today from the United States government site, the USGS. You can go check out their volcanic activity updates. All right, we talked about this yesterday. We really didn't have time to cover it. I don't know that we will today for the people on Jurgens Radio and Radio Australia. Yeah, I had never heard that term either until I was researching this for Wendell. Swarms, and I guess they're micro where they're smaller than 2.2, and they come in clusters, kind of like a cluster headache on Earth. Let me get this out of the way real quick. I want everybody on Radio X in Australia to stay tuned in if you want to hear David Breckmeyer's show, and I'm struggling for the name of it right now. Man, I can't think of the name of it. Anyhow, it's a political show you might enjoy. If for some reason you wanted to stay with us, we're going to continue on for a few more minutes, probably not more than 10 or 15. Come over and find us on YouTube. And actually, I really do need you to come over and find us on YouTube because I need some subscriptions. I need some views. I need to hit that thumbs up button and get this spread out and around the internet so people know that we actually do something over here. Basically, me just pontificating and talking for 2 hours. But some people enjoy it. So you can come over and subscribe. I really need your help to get monetized. So come on over here. And otherwise, if you want to stay tuned for David Breckmeyer on Jurgens Radio and Rainbow Radio, Radio X Australia, we'll be breaking off at 3:00 local time to let that happen so that you can tune into that. I want to wish you all a good morning. We will be here with you tomorrow overnight in Australia. So at 3:00 when we drop you guys, I hope you have a good day, and I will see you tomorrow. Continue on. We're going to look at the map page. This page is really interesting because they talk about almost everything. You can pull up a map of earthquakes. This is in Miramar of a 7.8 earthquake. And the next one down shows the Democratic Republic of Congo, ongoing severe weather. I'm not going to pull all these up. I'm just going to talk about them. Slovakia, this is the next thing. It's going to start making news. The foot and mouth disease. Hey, Wendell, welcome back. Hey, did you miss Wendell? I gave a whole report about your Alabama incident and your in your Yellowstone. Where were you, Wendell? You got to rewind here, Wendell. Wendell, there were swarms of earthquakes in Wyoming, so be prepared. Just swarms of. They're going to move across the country and get you, Wendell. Oh. All right. Bolivia, the rainy season is a problem right now. And I'm just going to go back to about where we got sick. We talked about the last one we talked about was the medevac operations out of Europe. All right. I pulled this up yesterday because we were running out of time. This is, I'm using air quotes here. Yes, Wendell, you missed it. I did a whole segment just for you, Wendell, and you missed it. Wendell. This is the, I'm using air quotes here. These are the weather balloons, and you can see where they are worldwide. It's funny. They will pop up and they will disappear so quickly. But if we look at one, we see that it is currently, it's floating over, and we don't know who this is that's got this one up. It doesn't give us that data, that telemetry. It was launched in Riverside, California, and it is currently going over a Marine Corps Air Combat Base, and that is in California, while there's two others just south of it. And they were one was launched from the test range, Yuma test range, and the other one here, let me click on the other one. What is that? Give me where it was launched from? Were they both launched at the same time, I guess? Okay. They don't really tell you who these are, but you do get some data out of them. They are weather balloons. You can find out that they're currently operating on a frequency of 401.2, and that this one is currently at 5,173 feet with a maximum altitude of almost 70,000. And somewhere down there it tells the temperature too. Relative humidity is 56.5 and 6.8 Celsius at 5,173 feet. But you can get an idea of some of these balloons, where they're launched, where they took off. Not all of them. Like this one, look, I bet this one out of Holman Air Force Base was launched and is currently just floating at about let's see, 6,128 feet. Its maximum altitude had been 70,055 feet, and it's currently just kind of floating over well, I hate to say it, but it's getting over there toward the area where the government doesn't like us to know exists, in Area 51. So it's kind of floating there. All right, everybody, I'm going to push the button here for Radio X Australia and Yerg's Radio. Thank you for tuning in. Check me out tomorrow. Come over to YouTube and find me, the Para are Normal Guys. Guys is spelled with a Z. You can find the Sportcat Daily Gazette. Y'all have a good morning, good day, good afternoon. I will see you tomorrow. I'm turning that back over to yergsradio.com. Everybody have a great day on Rainbow Radio, Yerg's Radio, and Radio X. I'll see you tomorrow. All right, we'll continue on real quickly here. I don't want to keep you guys too long, and just show you, some of these balloons that are out right now. You can and you can get all this information at sonderhub.org. And they will pop up and disappear so quick. Like this one was launched out of Grand Rapids. It's currently at almost 5,000 feet, just kind of floating along over it's just northwest of Ann Arbor. And they could be getting weather data. You could be getting they could be monitoring cell phones. They don't really tell you what they are. Oh, it's shocking. There's a lot of them around DC. This one was launched was launched on the other side of Dulles Airport. It is currently at 46,148 feet, where it is negative 55 degrees, and it's pretty much flown. Well, it's flown the outer beltway of 495, 95, 395, pretty much across Fairfax, Alexandria, Burke, Springfield, Prince William, down around Lorton, Davidson Airfield. Surprisingly, there's a large military base right there that deals with our cyber command that balloon just floated over. And it is currently out over the Chesapeake Bay. And we have others here. Where was this one launched? This one is followed the same course, but it was launched from the northeast side of Washington, D.C. Let's see. Does it give a location of what this? What in the heck is that logo? That's a very odd logo. Some kind of church, obviously. So it was launched from a church parking lot, and it is currently floating at, wow, it is at 87,000 feet. So it's really got some data. And it flew the other side of the perimeter of Washington, D.C., and is now crossed over the Chesapeake, going into, down by Andy. And it looks like they're anticipating it will land somewhere around here. Interesting. And this is also good because we know that the wind conditions, if you remember, we looked at it, they were all going that way. This one was launched from Baltimore. And this one, where was that one launched from? Baltimore. Yeah, see, some of them, it won't give you any data. It just tells you they're there. Yeah, it won't really give you much data. Looks like that one didn't make it up off the ground. Well, okay. And where did this one go? That one is currently at 26,860 feet, and it was launched off of, look at that. It was launched out of Wallop Flight Facility, and it went up and over it, and is now floating out over the Atlantic with a maximum altitude for it. Whoa, it was really up there, so it could gather all kinds of data. It was at 102,427. That's almost outer space. Wow. So it really was up there gathering some data. Whatever kind of data it was getting, it could be weather related, it could be, who knows. So Interestingly enough, we have some down here. And this one was launched off of Cape Canaveral. Yep, Cape Canaveral. And its maximum altitude for it was only 82,000 feet. It's kind of cruising along the coastline there, getting whatever weather data it wants. This one was also launched at Cape Canaveral. So Cape Canaveral launched several balloons. Now, this is a very interesting one because it doesn't really show, it shows it was launched, but it was launched out in the Pacific, I'm sorry, the Atlantic, and it's just kind of hanging out at 36,000 feet. It hasn't traveled a great distance, but it was launched, according to this, it was launched out in the Atlantic Ocean off of the coast of Florida. That's kind of interesting. Remember, we talked about there's an area over here on the Atlantic coast we want to keep an eye on. And, sometimes you can't fly planes. So maybe what's needed is a balloon. So, yeah, there's something over here that been keeping an eye on off of the coast of Florida in the Atlantic Ocean. There's something in the Gulf of America in the Panhandle they're keeping a close eye on. So we'll look at that here in just a minute. And we see over in Europe, there's all kinds of, quote, weather balloons in the air. You can find this at soundhobe.org. And if you're really interested in this, and I understand that this is a hobby, you can actually chase these online and try and catch them, because once they fall to the ground, you can claim them because they fell from the sky. I don't know, but that's a hobby where people try and go catch them. Got me. All right, so we're going to take a look down here. This is from Sky Vector. The typical warning boxes over the DC area and down around the coast. We see some security warnings. And then down around Mar-a-Lago, there's always the ones. The weather off the coast in the Atlantic. I don't see anything really strange here from yesterday. We do see a lot of these security ones. Okay. Like this one is around Lexington, Mass. Temporary flight restrictions for special security reasons. They don't list what the special security reason is. So, but you can zoom in and out and see what there is. And Sky Vector is a good site to go to. All right, we're going to go to the FAA website, which is going to tell us pretty much the same thing, but I took away the boxes and warnings, but down along the coastline, they had some boxes and warnings for no, that wasn't it. No, that wasn't it. Where was it? That wasn't it. Nope. All right, I'll have to go through and do this again, but we were keeping an eye on things in the Gulf of America and off the coast. Can you sell them back? I bet if you went on eBay, you probably could, Wendell. I haven't looked, but yeah, you can chase it. You can actually go chase them down and keep them. I don't know. That's a hobby. Apparently it's a pretty aggressive hobby. People trying to catch them to see what they are. So don't know. So yeah, this comes to us. This is from the FAA website, and I've got the box turned off, but they were watching this area on both sides of Florida and up the Atlantic. Let's pull it up. Currently in the United States, this is, if you look overhead, this is the number of aircraft over our head at the moment. Yes, it's really that many. We'll zoom out here and just bring in the military stuff, and we'll look and see. Let's see, that is a tanker. It's going to be probably following the coastline there. And I'm going to guess that is, okay, that's a dignitary. And all right, so look here, we're talking about this. They're watching something. Look at this. They're saying this is an unidentified airplane, possibly a P-8, and I think that's a sub-hunter. And look, it was all off the coast of Jacksonville. And look at this area that it's been circling off of Cape Canaveral. Same area the balloons were launched. And I'm going to bet that there's probably some fighter traffic in there as well. And like I said, a plane may not be able to go into international waters and observe things, but that balloon sure could. And remember, we had how many balloons take off from Cape Canaveral, including one that took off from somewhere out here? So there you go. There's no call sign, and this is possibly a Boeing P-8 Poseidon, which, if I recall correctly, is a sub-hunter. So this one also it was a sub hunter. I'm going to guess that this one has probably been launched and is probably going to be in formation behind that one when it runs out of, well, I won't say runs out of fuel, but needs to go refuel. So interesting, some of the things you find here. Look at this. We have a C560. Huh. Where'd it go to? Huh. Disappeared. What's down around there? Oh, let's see if it goes around this corner. Isn't this the part of Cuba where the Guantanamo Bay is? Isn't that where that is? So maybe some kind of military official down there. They just disappeared off radar and appeared on radar mysteriously. Happens like that sometimes. Let's see. The R135 Joint Command. Oh, Lord. There's probably going to be somebody on YouTube saying the doomsday plane is up. Everybody prepare for death. C-17. We have the T-38s off the coast train. There's always a lot of activity around Washington. There's a tanker. All right, so okay, look here. Tanker's been flying in a circle out here. We know that the tanker can support about 30 jets. So he's kind of circling off of the DC Chesapeake coast and out into the Atlantic. Then what do we have here? Let's say KC-46 Pegasus. He's kind of patrolling up and down the coast too. So if you look and see, you kind of get a feel of what they're doing. And we do it daily, and we just kind of skim around and see what we can see. We know around the border right now there really a lot of activity because we're setting up that demilitarized zone. So keep an eye on that. Nope, there was no fire. A lot of times when you see the helicopters, that is just training, especially down around the Panhandle where there's Elgin Air Force. You get over in Pensacola, they have an naval air base, and Mobile has a base as well. So you see a lot of helicopter activity there. But this just gives you an idea. This is currently military operations, military flights that are what we call squawking. So yeah, and some of them you'll see they're just tankers with no call signs. You kind of have to keep an eye on it, And once again, another tanker. And look out here in Hawaii, you have Blackhawks operating. So just keep an eye. It gives you an idea. And you could even go over if you're really interested in seeing what's going on in the other parts of the world and kind of look and see what our military is. You can see if our military is moving things. There's been a lot of traffic in and out of Germany from the United States here lately into Europe. So gives you an idea of what's going on there. I don't make any prognostications, but I can tell you that when we've been watching, and now especially with the balloons, there is something out here off the coast and in the Gulf of America that they're keeping an eye on. So, and I'll pull up marine traffic, but they don't really tell you what's out here. I mean, they will tell you, but you don't know what it is. This is all the current marine. This is all the boats. We were looking at a minute ago. We were looking at all the planes. This is all the boats in the world right now moving. All the ships, not boats. You see the Panama Canal, which BlackRock has seized and taken control of, it's pretty active and busy. It's got people jammed up on both sides wanting to get in and out of it. So that's your marine travel. And I didn't pull up where the current Navy fleet was. And I'm not going to cover this one today, guys, because we've run way over in time. But this is our interactive map on crime, what's going on in the United States. You can pull this up by going to usa.live, usamap.com, and it will give you recent events that are going on around the country. It could be anything from gun crimes in Atlanta and Chicago to 2 people dead in Stockbridge in Georgia. Birmingham investigation, a homicide. You can just pull this up and it'll give you things going on in different parts of the country. We didn't get a chance to get into the New England fire map, but we can pretty much look at the map and see that there's been some considerable fires over on the East Coast and some EMS incidents. So I'm going to leave you. Wendell wants to, do they have cars? Does what have cars, Wendell? Do the people who are trying to get them? I would assume they would. I mean, I'm gonna guess they would. I don't know the answer to that, Wendell. I would assume that. You'd probably chase it along the roadway and try and catch it, but you would have to trespass on somebody's property to get it if it landed, if it didn't land in the street or something. But But yeah, you could check it out, Wendell. It's actually a hobby. So crazy hobby. All right, so I'm going to leave everybody today. We're looking at Bitdefender, and we know that China yesterday admitted that they were attacking us. Well, apparently now Russia is attacking Russia, trying to get the Trump files. Wendell, they use that website, and they also, each one of those has a frequency, and it's listed when you pull up the balloon, and you can see what frequency it's transmitting on. You can go on Amazon and buy a little receiver that'll pick up them, simple enough. And then you just kind of listen for the signal, and you're looking at the GPS. But that, yeah, but be warned, there's going to be like 50 people trying to get each one. So it's apparently a pretty aggressive hobby. I don't get it, but hey, whatever. It's not for me. We know yesterday that China admitted they were trying to attack our infrastructure, and we still see that that's ongoing. And we read today that Russia is tracking Russia. Yeah, Window, you can track it in a car. So we see that yesterday it was more attacks. Today it looks like it's more infections. So, and USA is still getting pounded. And surprisingly enough, we got USA to USA attacks. A lot of South America on USA. So I'll leave you going out with that. That is the Bitdefender. You can go check it out for the most recent real time. No, wrong button. Real time cyber attacks. I have to go over here and do that. So, all right. Well, everybody, I hope you had a great day. Enjoyed the show. We ran over by 15 minutes. I apologize. I still didn't get to all the stories, but I'm trying to keep it moving. So, hope you guys have a great day. I will be back tomorrow, 1300 local Eastern time till 3 o'clock. And I will bring you updates on things I see. If you want, I would encourage you not only to come over here and subscribe, I would encourage you. Do they track cars? Do the balloons track cars? Is that what you're asking, Wendell? I'm assuming, Wendell, that they probably have a receiver in those balloons at high altitudes with the antennas pointing down, collecting everything from AM radio, cell phone, pager, dogs barking, any data. I'm going to assume, because the government does that. It's an operation they use where they go in and they just get data. They get whatever they can get. It's like they take a snapshot of an area. So I would assume that they could track anything from a cell phone. I mean, well, heck, look at Google. Google tracks you. So, but they're looking for something a little bit different, I would say. But there are some true actual weather balloons, and some amateur radio operators put balloons up as well. So, but at any rate, well,
it sounds like you're suggesting that while Google does track user data, they might be interested in a different, perhaps less obvious type of information.
I mentioned Google and she's talking to me.
A wide array of data to provide and
stop
improve
Google
services, personalize user experiences, and
I must stop. Here we go. Good Lord. Is it Friday yet? Yesterday was the first rough day back, guys. Yeah, Wendell. They track everything from the balloons. They can track everything from the aircraft. They can track everything from your phone, as you just saw. My phone has been on absolutely silent, not supposed to make a noise unless a family member calls, which of course my grandson did, but he video called. But yeah, they could track everything. So yeah, there you go. Everybody, I want you to come over and subscribe. Hit that thumbs up button. It helps get it spread around. This will be uploaded to Spotify here in just a little bit. And then tomorrow I'll be back from 1300 to 1500. So tune in here, Eastern time, 1 to 3. And I guess that's about it. Oh, also, there is a Facebook group. Go over and find that Facebook, Sportcat's Daily Gazette. I want to try and start getting the fan interaction while we're not on here talking. If you see a story like Wendell saw some stuff he wanted me to show that he had that he thought we'd all be interested in, he sent it to me. I want to get that going there where we can share things going back and forth. So Wendell says they better not track him. Wendell, they are tracking you to see if you go see Cheyenne. That's exactly what they're doing. So all right, everybody. Hey, I can't. Oh man, I wish I can do that. Everybody have a great day. I will see you tomorrow. If you have any questions, you can drop me a message at sportcat@protonmail.com, or you can go to speakpipe.com/sportcat and send me a voicemail. I will actually play it on the radio or on the air. And you can find me at most social medias at Sportcat or at Sportcat Medic on pretty much everything. If you want to send me a Mountain Dew, I'm going to finish my second one of the day and try and finish getting woke up. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody. I will talk to you soon. Just shoot me a message. You speak cryptic.